Hi, I'm Rachel, and these are my thoughts on the 2021 BookTube Prize Fiction Ballot. Just this morning, as I'm filming, the director of the BookTube Prize, Robert, posted the official results of the semifinals and the pairings for the finals, where we are judging 6 books in literary fiction and 6 books in nonfiction. I am particularly excited to get fiction because I haven't read any fiction this year so far for the prize, so I'm excited for that. But that being said, if I were reading the nonfiction ballot, I would only have to read 3 books. And in this case, I have to read 6. So a little bit of background. The BookTube Prize was started in 2019 as a way to judge literary fiction and nonfiction, and next year, translated fiction published in the US the year before this one. We start with a list of 48 books per division at the beginning of the year, and through 4 different rounds, we whittle it down to a winner. Well, we're now in the finals round, where each division has 6 books that are still left in the running, and the judges go ahead, and for the next 2 months we will read all 6 books and then rank them, and then in the beginning of October, Robert will be announcing the winners. So I'll leave information about the BookTube Prize linked down below, but for now I'm going through a run-through of the covers of the 6 books I will be reading for the fiction finals. Okay, and here are my preliminary thoughts on each of these 6 books. Once the judging begins, I'll have to be mum about my opinions until the BookTube Prize ends for 2021, but I haven't started reading yet. I have all 6 books on hold at the library. So here's just my thoughts based on my experience seeing these books out in the literary world. Starting with Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. This is a book that recently won the Women's Prize, and I've been interested in it ever since. Just seemed really fascinating to me, historical fiction that centers around Shakespeare's family, and particularly an event that we're pretty sure shaped a lot of his work, especially Hamlet, which is the death of his son Hamnet. Although I think Shakespeare has a very limited role in this book, and it mostly centers around his wife losing a child. So yeah, I've been very excited for the historical aspects. Maybe not so much for the plaguey aspects, given our recent history, but we'll have to make do. Then we have My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, and admittedly, I forgot basically anything about what this book is about until I just looked it up in a brief fashion just now to understand that it is a book about a naive young teenage girl who gets into a relationship with what seems to be a manipulative teacher. I guess I'm a little wary. When it comes to these sorts of relationships, we say that we understand the ideas of how older men can be manipulative of younger women, but I don't think that necessarily always comes out in how we respond to real-time events. And in general, I mean, that's not a lot to go on in terms of what a novel's about. It really will come down to what the characters are like. So yeah, those are my thoughts, more or less. This does seem to be an important topic to get into, especially on a fiction level, to try to understand the personalities of characters who could get embroiled in this. Next we have Shuggie Bain by Douglas Stewart, the winner of the Booker Prize, which I was just reminded of a couple of days ago when I went into a bookshop, and it was one of the prominent books on display, and on the spine it was like very prominently put on the top, winner of the Booker Prize. And it was a big enough paperback that that little square of information fit quite nicely in there. I'm excited about this one too. I know it takes place in Scotland in the Thatcher era, and it involves a mother with addictions and her relationship to her young son. And it's one of those books that I think I know about mostly through BookTube, in fact, and all of the rave reviews it's been getting, so that really ratchets up my hope. Next is The Death of Vivek Oji by Akwaeke Emeze. What I know about this book is that it takes place in Nigeria, and it largely maps the life of the main character, so I'm led to believe by the fact that his death is spoiled as a main event of the narrative. Kind of reminds me of a book I read last year for the finals in the BookTube Prize in the fiction division, which also sort of, you knew going in, encapsulated the life and death of a main character. Not sure if these two books would have anything in common otherwise, other than they are taking place in locations that are far from the Western sphere. This book in particular takes place in Nigeria, and I admit that leads to some of the appeal for me, that I am not as well versed in what a life or death of characters might be in Nigeria, so I'm eager to give it a go. Then there's The Prettiest Star by Carter Sickles. This is another book I know predominantly through the rave reviews I've seen on BookTube. It is a book about a young man in the 80s who contracts AIDS and goes home to the Appalachia where he'd been kicked out of his family, but he goes home, I think, to die. That's my understanding of what the story is about. I think out of all of these stories, that's the one that kind of hits me most in the feels. That could be very distressing. But who knows, maybe there'll be a modicum of hope as well, as, you know, this man is ending his life. Maybe his family could start to come around a little bit, or at least not want to, you know, have him end his life on bad terms with them. It certainly will have a lot to say about the cultural and political realities of the day, I'm sure. I'd say it's a relief we don't live in those times anymore, but that's a little glib. I know that some gay people do still live in similar times when it comes to relations with their family members. But anyway, at the end of the day, what I do come back to is the rave reviews I remember seeing on BookTube, and that's really what's propelling me forward and making me excited about this one. And finally, on the other end of the spectrum, admittedly I might be the least excited about this one, it's The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett. I say I'm the least excited because earlier this year I read her debut novel, The Mothers, with my mom and auntie's book club, and I didn't love it as much as I was hoping to. I thought it was pretty decent, but something seemed to be missing, and I remember in our conversation we talked about the distance she might have felt from her characters, and how it felt like several of them didn't have much of a satisfying arc. So yeah, in general, I think I have a disappointed feeling in the back of my head when it comes to Brit Bennett, and as I've been watching this book advance throughout the prize. That being said, this does, The Vanishing Half does seem to be a different sort of book, a more sociologically relevant book perhaps. The Mothers really did feel like particular characters in a particular place, whereas The Vanishing Half I think goes into more concrete, overt detail about issues of colorism and race in America. It's about people who can pass as white and not, and how that affects families. And I think on its surface that does interest me more because, you know, we do get character stuff, but we also get how, you know, it affects broader culture. Also, there's the fact that just because this is the same author doesn't mean it's the same book, and in fact, she very well could have continued to grow as an author, and hopefully she has. Hopefully everybody does as they continue to write. So I don't want to judge this book too much on the last book, which again, I didn't dislike, I just didn't love. So yeah, I have those preconceived notions, but I'm trying to go in with as blank of a slate as I possibly can because, hey, this one could be really great. So yeah, there we go with my rambly, quick off-the-top thoughts about these books. Who knows what I'll actually think as I read them and sit down and think them through. Reminds me of the quarterfinals, the last round that I judged of the BookTube Prize, where I went in groaning, oh my god, a 1,000-page biography of Sylvia Plath, and then that turned out to be my favorite. Speaking of which, I am so excited that apparently the same process went on for most of the finalist judges as well, where I remember there was a lot of groaning when the semifinals were announced, but now it has advanced into the finals round. Two other books I've read for the Nonfiction Prize this year have also advanced, including Our Bodies, Their Battlefields by Christina Lamb, which is a journalistic account tracking individuals from several communities of predominantly women who have been victims of sexual assault in warfare scenarios. Very harrowing but important read. And then the next one that advanced is Cast by Isabel Wilkerson, which way back in the Octafinals recap video that I did, I predicted that it would make the finals, so I'm extra excited that it has. So yeah, there's a lot that I'm personally looking forward to, both with reading the fiction finals and also what will happen with the nonfiction finals. I will link to my reviews of the nonfiction books I've mentioned down below, and just to the Goodreads pages for the fiction books. So that about covers it for me now. As I've done in past months, I will probably be holding up my BookTube Prize fiction reads in Friday Reads videos, but just to announce that I'm reading them, I will not be giving any thoughts about the books as I read them. I'm completely mum, have no opinions anymore past this video. Well, until October, of course, when I'll do a ranking video. But anyway, you should see me back on this channel in a couple of days where I do a recap of Becky Chambers' books, especially the ones that I'm in the middle of reading right now. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Thanks so much for the judges who did not take off the semifinals as I did. I hope you all do post videos. I will eagerly be searching for them in the coming days. And I will see you next time.